Hey guys, Sarkat here, and I want to give a quick update on the Fire Nova character. We've made it to 56 and we've made some changes to the build. There are still one or two things that I'm unsure about, so I'll ask for your guys' feedback when it gets to that later on in the video. And one other quick thing, the cat says hello. Alright, so what is the main thing? The main thing is update your offline skill tree planner. Weave the Arcane is a million times better than I thought it was, and because it's a million times better than I thought it was, that's changed a few things. So they added the 8% reduced damage taken for 4 seconds after spending 200 mana. You can see that just on a 4 link, my Fire Nova mine already costs 90 mana, and that is only at level 13. The mana cost will probably be up to something stupid like 200 mana once we get to endgame. So this will nearly always be active, and while leveling is active most of the time, the second you pick up Weave the Arcane, your mana problems are solved. To give you an idea, every time you cast a skill, it will has a 20% chance to proc, but it nearly always procs when you detonate. I don't know if detonation has a particularly high chance or it triggers it for every single mine, but it just seems that whenever you press detonate, it procs. You just watch my mana. It just always procs for some reason. Not sure why. We could sit here for a while and test it, but trust me, we don't have any issues with mana in this build. As long as you have enough mana to cast 2 mines, you're okay. Because of that, we've dropped the whole mine diver mana aspect of the build. Just the fact that this one 2-pointer solves all of our issues and gives us 8% reduction to everything. This is physical and elemental, is enough to justify taking this and is enough to justify Trickster. So yeah, with that in mind, we have altered the tree. We are running dual curse on Blasphemy, and yeah, so I am a massive fan of acrobatics. If you don't like acrobatics, you can drop this bottom section and redistribute the points appropriately. If you don't like Trickster and you want to do a more traditional Saboteur version, then just copy Pox's tree from Essence and your tree will look something sort of like this. However, this is what I've gone with. So it's 113 points, however we do help in Cruel and Merciless. If you wanted to fit Enduring Cry into the build, you could pick up the Endurance charge and you could also help Oak, but personally I'm not doing that. So this is currently level 91 build, but that is with the Flask nodes filled in and 6 jewels. So yeah. 175% maximum life with 6 jewels is a lot of life. If you get 7% jewels on all of those, that's roughly, what, 42% maximum life? So you're looking at 217% maximum life. With acro, with phase acro, with more dodge through here, and with more chance to evade while not on full energy shield. My curses that I've chosen to run are Temp Chains and Flammability. You can go full offense, you can go full defense. Generally speaking, I prefer Temp Chains to Enfeeble for a miner. The reason being is there is a brief window where you're vulnerable in between your movement skill where you drop the mine and detonate it. You generally, when you're full map clearing, you face tank a lot of packs. So just slowing everything around you, it gives you that window to detonate your mine. So personally, I prefer Temp Chains to Enfeeble. And then Flammability is the obvious go-to offensive curse because it gives us fire penetration. So yeah, play around with Temp Chains and Feeble, play around with Flammability, Ellie Weakness, and just mix and match to your preference. The way we're acquiring dual curse is using a Doju's Damning. Again, this is being planned for a league starter for next league. Very easy to pick up. At the start of the leagues, they're more like 5 to 10 chaos, but once a few weeks have gone in, they're usually around about 5C. This is hardcore prices, which for the amount of power you get is very, very achievable, and you can very easily make do with just one curse while leveling, or if you really have to, pick up the points on the tree. Running Tri-Curse would be very powerful in this build. It's just how you would apply the third curse is kind of awkward. We do take Elemental Overload for rares and bosses, so you could do Orb of Storms cast on Hitstar, which was my original idea with this build. However, when it comes to curses, especially defensive curses, having automation saves you more times than not. I've had a few characters in the past die who they just got like one shot before I could drop the curse, and then you just feel like an idiot. So generally when you can automate your curses, surprise, surprise, automation is king. Now, This is a very defensive setup, both through the Ascendancy option and through the tree. We do get a decent amount of damage through all the mine stuff, the penetration, a bunch of extra mine damage here. And if you feel like you want more damage, you can quite easily change up rootings, pick up Heart of Flame, pick up additional curse. We do have Elemental Overload, you do have access to Explosive Impact, you do have access to Purity of Flesh. So I can quite easily drop this package and go more DPS oriented if I feel that it is needed. So for a base tree, I'm very happy with it. The one thing that I'm really conflicted about with the build is what I want to do for my weapons. Now, currently, just for leveling, I'm using Durasso's Passions. They're just a decent leveling item in the fact that it's just generic damage. It applies to everything. Our mines don't give us the frenzy charges, so we never have frenzy charges, and they have a good base attack speed for Whirling Blade leveling. Now, the main options I have is for the chest piece, you would ideally want to use a Carcass Jack. This is assuming if you're doing one hand and shield. The reason my Carcass Jack is so good is it has life, it has all res, it has AoE, which is very important, and has area damage. It basically just has everything on it, and it is hybrid evasion energy shield, making it very easy to get the blue colors. Carcass Jack is perfect for this kind of a build. That being said, however, this is a life build. You guys know that I prefer life to CI, and we are a fire build, so Comb's Heart would be very juicy. We have so much scaling that Combs would be really nice. We have enough jewels that capping out resists would be really easy. And you can make the links work on a staff Combs budget. You would have your Fire Nova set up in your staff. You would do your Blasphemy Flammability Temp Chains, just floating somewhere, have a random Orb of Storms for proccing it, Ellie Overload. You would use Casting Damage Taken and Mortal Call as a 2-link with Flame Dash Faster Casting for mobility. And then you would have Scorching. I don't know why every time I say Scorching Ray, I call it the wrong thing. And you'd have a Spell Totem Scorching Ray set up for just shredding bosses. If you wanted to drop the Scorching Ray setup, you could just run a Decoy Totem. That would give you more flexibility for links, so that you run stuff like Increased Duration, Val Haste, and maybe Val Lightning Trap. But as is, this is like a good enough core package that you can make staff Combs work. Obviously, the second you add a Combs into a build, it's going to get a lot more life, a lot more defense. The Combs also gives us fast damage, which scales, and having a +3 staff in nearly all cases will be more damage than running a one-handed shield. And this is where I'm really conflicted. So I've tried finding good resources to compare the DPS values of Staves versus Scepters for casters, and I personally can't find any. I generally don't play that many casters, at least I haven't for a while. I haven't really at all since they updated the bases. So if you guys have any good impact or insight, more appropriately, into that whole world, I would be interested. One thing to point out, and this is kind of funny, so you would think that doing one hand and shield is more budget friendly, because it's a thing of, well, Comb's Hearts are so expensive, right? Well, not really, because of the availability of the easy 5-links. You can get a 5-link staff for less than a Chaos Orb, even at the very start of leagues. Getting 5 links are incredibly easy as staffs. You can get a +2 pretty straightforward. You can use essences. There's all sorts of stuff you can do to get very easy. Do I have one on me even? Yeah. You can get a Shrieking Essence Rage for cheaps, and it's just like, buy a cheap 5-link, buy this, slap, you already have a +2. That was like no investment whatsoever. And getting a cheap 5-link early into the league, staff is the way to go. Then that also means that you can run any kind of chest you want. You can still run stuff like Carcass Jack, you can run anything, and you don't need to worry about having awkward colours. Now, the thing where it gets kind of awkward is, on the flip side, if you do one-handed shield, you can use, probably a Scepter, because they have the 6% elemental penetration as the implicit. You could dual wield them, but realistically you're not going to do that because you're going to have bad movement skill options. That is another advantage one-handed shield has over staffs. With staffs, you're stuck using either Flame Dash or Leap Slam, neither of which feel that amazing. Flame Dash is good enough with the amount of cast and movement speed you can quite easily pick up, but it's not like perfect. The other issue you have is, while Combs makes the defense more expensive, with a one-handed shield at the start of the league and even at the end of the league, you can pick up a Sapphire's Frame for about 1 alch to a Chaos. Sapphire's, I think, is a pretty undervalued item, especially if Breach makes it into the core game. If the next patch stays with this very elemental heavy focus. Considering how cheaply you can pick up a Sapples as a starter shield, it's not going to be your best on slot shield. You'd rather have some like crazy thousands of evasion, 100 life, whatever. But having a cheap Sapples at the start, giving you that +4 max res, especially when paired with the 8% reduction of Weave the Arcane, basically means that you're not dying to elemental damage anytime soon. Like, you've done something really wrong when you have this much life into a tree. You have Acro, you have Phase Acro, you have Weave the Arcane, and you have the access to a Sapples. Also, considering the fact that we have all the flask effectiveness, we'd have super Basalt flasks. You know, this is 32% flask effectiveness. If you just have a bog standard Basalt, not even rolled with increased effect, this is another 6% physical mitigation. So each node reads as like 2% physical mitigation. It also makes your Quicksilver's more effective. Your like ideal, like if you want to go full tank tree while being life, I know full tank life lol, would be something kind of like 1 to 2 HP potions. Some people like 2, some people like 1. Then a Quicksilver, a Basalt Flask with increased effect, and then a Taste of Hate. Now, obviously, the second you start adding Taste of Hate, stuff becomes more kind of GG. But if you did the Saffle setup, you'd be in a situation where you're never dying to cold damage because you have the max res from the Saffles, the max res from the Taste of Hate, the 8% reduced damage from being a Trickster. You have the increased physical mitigation from the Flask effect on both the Basalt and the Taste of Hate, and then the 8% reduction from Weave the Arcane, and your Acro, so you're not really getting hit, and a very high HP pool. So the idea is you very rarely ever get hit. When you do get hit, you're not getting one shot because you have all this layers of mitigation, and at that point, it's just a case of can you get the DPS high enough. So that's kind of where I'm a little bit conflicted. I just really need to know more about the strength of one-handed Scepters. There are all of these layers for very strong possible mitigation here, and it's just a case of making them all line up correctly. One other quick thing I want to say before I go is I'm also, when I'm done with mines, I'm going to use the same base tree, just drop the mine nodes, and I'm going to try out a pure Scorching Ray build. The reason why I want to try it is the Trickster Ascendancy is pretty well suited to it. You can take Weave the Arcane just to solve all your mana issues. Again, quite reliably keep the 8% damage active, 8% damage reduction active. You have Patient Reaper, which gives you some increased damage over time, increased life recovery and mana recovery. And then you have Swift Killer, which gives you Frenzy Charge generation. So if you want to do like some super regen tank, again, this is kind of ignoring Shade Form because we're talking mostly about life stuff. You can quite easily use any combination of these 4 minor nodes and have quite a lot of strength there. You could also do something pretty powerful with Inquisitor, a non-crit Inquisitor that is. The attack and cast speed between Inquisitor and Trickster is comparable. Trickster gets more, however. The one nice thing that you do have going for you, the Inquisitor, is the nearby enemies take increased elemental damage. Again, this is take increase, so this is like more damage. So that's a very nice DPS boost. And then you have all this like crazy life regen built into Sanctify and Pious Path. There is some potential for super tanks, and when you're doing a League Start of Hardcore for cheap, generally speaking, you want to be playing a tanky caster of sorts. So yeah, that's kind of where my mind is at the moment. Do give me some ideas for the whole Staff versus Scepters thing. And again, as mentioned in previous videos, we've recently set up a Patreon. If you do want to support the channel and you're in the position to, there will be a link under the stream. I'm Tarky, the cat's peaced out, here to in-game cats. Have a good day. Bye-bye.